Hello, good afternoon or good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Hero Series. I am here today with the CEO of Volante Group, Antonio, and I'll let him introduce himself to you in a second. So I'm delighted to be here with Antonio and to be delving underneath his experience over the last 6 months, how he has scaled and stepped up his recruitment business into awesome heights, into life-changing stratospheres. So, Antonio, let's dive straight into you, sir.
Right.
Would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself and your business?
Good afternoon, Katie. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity. My name's Antonio Volante. I am the CEO of Volante Group. I've been in recruitment for 24 years now, and primarily in the same recruitment in that time. But the last 11 years has been obviously with my own business at Volante Group. And the areas that I focus on primarily are finance and HR placements at the mid to senior level into the public sector. This includes organisations such as housing associations, charities, and the education sectors, including the academies, colleges, and university sector. Great,
wonderful. So, tell us a little bit about, because we're here to talk about the journey you've been on in the last 6 to 9 months. So tell us some of the challenges that you were experiencing if we went back to, 6 months ago or pre the Rockit journey.
Sure. Well, I'll be honest with you. It has literally been a life-changing journey. And I'm not just saying that. I sincerely believe that's been the case. And obviously I'll explain why. But I think initially I had sort of three main challenges. The main challenge for me was that I was not able to grow the business because I was doing everything myself within the business. I think my problem is that I think I'm too much of a perfectionist and I have to do everything. But the reality is it's a stupid way to work, really. And, once you realize that and you get the help in that you need, it will really make a big difference to your business and the potential growth of your business for sure. The other challenge that I had was that, again, when you work on your own and you're trying to do everything, I never spent any time and certainly not enough time working on the business rather than in it. So, kind of strategy fell by the wayside, and it was, grab what you can in terms of business opportunities when they came up. And again, that's not really the best way to go about if you're looking to sort of, grow and expand the business. And the last sort of main challenge that I found was that, again, through my sort of scattergun business development approach, there was no kind of defined target market, if you like, to my business development work. And again, whilst I was able to get business in, there wasn't really a focus of where it was coming from long term. And there was always that, that worry about where's the next piece of business coming from.
Yeah.
So there were sort of the three main challenges that I experienced prior to joining the course.
Yeah, definitely. So I think you can relate to those. Just on that, I mean, perfectionist, in many ways it is a strength, isn't it? Because there's a lot of recruitment business owners, a lot of business owners that will, be able to lean into that comment and say, yeah, I can, that's me, or see themselves in that mirror. And that's often what gets you to where you are, because you know that you need to be at a high level and a high standard, and that that certain things happen because you make them happen. And then at the same time, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you then start building a business, you see, oh, that can be a strength, but at the same time, it's starting to give me some blockers or some challenges around that growth. And we're not always aware of what they are. We just get frustrated with ourselves because it's like, absolutely. Oh my God, what do I do next? Let's dive into that one first then. So what happened for you around that? What did you learn? What did you change?
Are you talking about specifics around the Rockit program?
About the perfectionist, yeah. And how did you, within what you've been changing in the last 6 months? Yeah.
The point about, I suppose for me, the negative about the perfectionist business is, I'll give you an example, is things like when you format a CV. I'm all about the detail in that, and I thought no one else can do it as good as me, and it's just really stupid, because the reality is, my VA is doing it better than me now. So, and I thought I could have let that go a long time ago, and that was just one of many things. So that's where that weakness comes from, if you like. Yes, you're right. I suppose it could be a strength in other ways, but that's where I was coming from on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many things now that, you know, I've learned whilst being on the program. I'll give you some examples of how all of that has shifted and changed for me and my business as well within the
Yeah.
last 6 months. And I want to give you some examples as well.
Please
First
do.
one, and one of the first activities that I found really useful on the course was the completing the activity inventory. I think for me that was really, you know, that was groundbreaking in terms of realizing how much work that I did that really I didn't need to be doing, and that wasn't really adding value to the business in terms of its growth or development in any way. And once I'd done the activity inventory task and realized, you know, what I could get off my plate and get someone else to do for me, especially around the administration side of it, the sort of non-money making tasks, then that really made a big difference already to my time management, and the ability to really push things forward. So having done that exercise, it, you know, made me think, obviously, I need to get a VA in as soon as possible. Let's get them doing some of these tasks. And that's exactly what I did. And straight away, it made a big difference. You know, that was just on one point.
Excellent. Excellent.
One of the other activities that I did was around the business X-ray. Again, a really, really important task. You know, it really allowed me to do some deep dive analysis into where all my places had been coming from. And I did that over a 2-year period. And it was really quite interesting, the results that I got from that, which I wouldn't have guessed, you know, were the way that they were until I actually analysed it and realised that actually that 80% of my business was coming in one area of the market that I was actually trying to attack. And I was, you know, it was a no-brainer for me to say, actually, going forward, I need to spend more time in this area because it's where most of my business is coming from. And, you know, I think as business owners, as new business people, if you like, we're always thinking, you know, it's important to have more is more, but actually sometimes less is more. So having a more defined target market with less clients, but making more of an inroad into that particular environment is probably more productive for your business in terms of getting a reputation out there. So really, really defining what you do and being good at what you do in that little niche is probably going to get you more reward, both financial and in terms of status within that marketplace. And that's what I realized through the business X-ray. And that, you know, that's really helped me sort of define a growth business development strategy in terms of where to focus my attention.
And how has that helped then with business development for you? What kind of difference has that made by being more, you know, like you're saying, streamlined in terms of who?
Well, what it's done is actually enabled me to focus on that particular area in more detail. And as a result, I've won more business in that area in the time that I've then implemented that strategy. And what's happened is that in the last 6 to 9 months, I've actually doubled the turnover, which has been amazing. Something that I'd not done ever in the 11 years that I've been in the, you know, working the business before. And that was a big part of that strategy as well. So obviously,
pretty good result.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the extra time and defining the target market were key areas. The other thing that I did again was we'd always been used to using the 360 model. It's something that I've been used to all my sort of recruitment work in life. But you know, now I know there are more effective models to use in the marketplace. And once we've done obviously the research on that, decided which one probably was the most appropriate for my business. Then I, you know, quickly wanted to implement that model, which I did. And off the back of that, I then decided that I needed to recruit a resourcer and a new business development consultant, which I did, and implement that model, which again, you know, has, in terms of the time management, the structure, the way of working, has made it so much more efficient, and potentially allowed me to earn more money as a result. Because, you know, I'm not getting bogged down with doing the resourcing anymore. I've actually got a dedicated resourcer that does that. And again, that has a big impact on bottom line.
Yeah.
It's been really a real game changer.
Because before you made that change, if somebody had said to you, you know, have somebody else to do your resourcing, I'm just saying this because this was one of the, you know, the objections, if you like, that I got in my business, you know, when people were like, no, I'm the best resourcer, even though they were actually the best, you know, business developer or the best consultant. Did you have what preconceived ideas did you have about that maybe turned out
Oh,
that were
I mean,
proved wrong, let's say? Yeah.
it's absolutely right. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm the best resourcer for me. No one can do the job like I can.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I resource the jobs to the nth degree to make sure that I get the best candidates. That was always, my philosophy and mindset. And one of the things that you guys did on this course is challenge me, especially the one-to-one sessions on a regular basis, get me thinking about different ways of working. And why they would possibly be more productive and effective. And, I suppose it was only through those conversations, in the program that actually made me kind of convince me to say, look, I need to try this because obviously, what I've done over the last 11 years is fine, but it hasn't really worked in terms of where I want to be with the business. So yeah, you certainly challenged me, and yes, it was hard for me to change that model that I've been used to working for so many years. But do you know what? I'm glad I have done that now, because my resourcer in week 5 has closed his first deal already. And funnily enough, what's interesting about that is we both resourced the same job. We had one interview each. So one was my candidate, one was his, and it was his candidate got the offer. So I was really pleased for him. And in a way, it was a reassurance that actually, there are people that can do that job, hopefully as good as I can in time.
Yeah. It's a really smart move on your behalf, because it's understanding that other people have strengths in the areas that we, aren't as strong in, and accepting that, isn't it? And then allowing you to focus more time in the area where you are your super strengths and you love. And it also means that you're really working smartly with your time, which of course, really has more value than the money itself, doesn't it? Because
indeed.
That's when you start leveraging the business and be able to create that team underneath you.
Yeah. It's everything you've just said. And on top of that, as a business owner, I think hopefully some people can relate to this. It's letting go of certain things that you thought you never would be able to. And now, do you know what? Ever since I've done that activity in inventory, I want to let go of everything.
Outsource it all.
But in a positive way, in the sense that I'm not afraid to do that. Whereas before I didn't trust anyone. No one could do it like I could do it. Now it's like, you know what? I really need someone that can do this, that, and the other, because it will free up my time to do this, that, and the other. And, again, it's all part of that mindset shift that over time you realize why it's important to delegate and to do these things, and the impact that that's had and is having as well. Definitely. One of the other things I wanted to mention as well, again, in the past, when it comes to hiring staff, I've always done it in a kind of wing it way, where I've gone on a gut feel. The process hasn't been very structured or rigid. Whereas, through working through the hiring winners, module on the Rockit program, there's such a sort of structured way of recruiting, where you've got the talent dynamics and, the different ways of trying to attract that talent that I wasn't used to or wasn't aware of before. That once I've been through that process, enabled me to hire much better talent than I had previously. And it's great, that I'm looking at people here that I could see in the business in 2 to 5 years, within 2 to 5 years as well, potentially. And that's a position I haven't been in before. And it's a nice position to be in. And that really is as a result of the program and the work that I did on that as well. Following that sort of process and that strategy.
And it does make a big difference. I can second you on that. When I used to recruit for people in the world of recruitment, and found that I was always getting it, or I felt I was getting it wrong. It was like, banging my head against a brick wall. Like, why is it I can't recruit good people? And you're right. One, it's putting people in the right positions. And secondly, it's having that robust system that you know what questions to ask, where to go to find these people, and then how to test them, and how to really, make sure that they are the right hire for you, because it's a very expensive thing to get wrong, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's my biggest fear, when you're a small business, cash is king and is everything. You don't want to waste money and time as well. And in addition to that, not only is obviously hiring the right people very important, but also then making sure you've got structures in place to keep them motivated, to obviously challenge them, to mentor them, coach them, and have a way of making sure that you know, on a periodic basis, whether it's monthly or weekly, assess their performance through KPIs, activities, again, you know, all of which I've been able to put in place as a result of the information I took from the program. So
amazing.
And really positive.
Amazing. Yeah, really and so, I mean, that's, you know, fantastic and good for you. Ultimately, you know, it comes down to the individual to take that action and to do that. What has helped you? Because you were one person, like, you know, it's quite a lot, isn't it, to put into place? Or it sounds like it's quite a lot to put into place in the 6 months' time. So how or what enabled you to really implement that plan in that way? Because that's, you know, that's like, in terms of transitioning your business, that's fantastic. You've doubled your turnover. You've tripled your size of your team. You've got all these structures in place now. Like, what made that possible?
Well, again, you know, thank you to the Rockit program, because basically, and I can run through sort of three or four key areas that really helped me. The Q&A, honestly, is really, really, really effective. Just being in that community for a start, with like-minded individuals who are in a similar position to yourself, having all the issues that you have, ask those, you know, intelligent, you know, demanding questions of you guys, and getting those answers from you that really help, you know, to kind of progress things and get past those difficult situations, or, you know, if we're facing sort of roadblocks, you know, those kind of important situations that really do end up making a big difference to, you know, the progression of the business. In addition to that, again, what I found really invaluable were the one-to-one sessions. So I work closely with Sally. Sally was brilliant with me, and we got on really well. And she really helped me to create my business strategy. But not only that, she challenged me to make sure that I delivered on what we agreed for every session that we had. And again, if I wasn't in this kind of program, I would never have developed that quickly. So one of the main reasons I achieved what I achieved in a relatively short space of time was because you guys, through these sessions, helped me set goals every month that I wanted to make sure that I delivered on, because ultimately it was for my benefit. So it was in my interest to make sure that I spent that time working on the business to implement those strategies, whether it was looking at the, you know, the business development strategy, looking at the hiring of the staff process, you know, all these activities. And it was through those one-to-one sessions that I would Sally that really helped me to make sure that I developed quickly and that I kind of hit those targets. So I could come into that next session and say, do you know what, Sally, I've done that. I've done what you asked. Now what do you want me to do? You know, in the sense that now what am I going to be challenged to do next that's going to benefit my business? Let's go for it, you know. So yeah, definitely. Again, lots of focused time every week working on the business through the 4 sessions that we had on the course. And the big takes was the big business development strategy around the LinkedIn messaging, whether it's through serve or the actual reach outs, you know, messaging sequences, especially on the right side. Yeah, definitely been really, really helpful, especially post-COVID, where it's been difficult to get hold of clients, for sure.
Right, definitely. And, you know, this is something potentially that I think a lot of people are going to see a lot more, aren't they? That whole requirement, as the market is probably going to be changing in the foreseeable future, around having that business development strategy in place and set up to really support you.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, it's been again that's been another game changer in that respect, because again, for people that wouldn't, you know, who were just used to getting on the phone and having that frustration, not being able to get through to the clients, what do you do? Where do you go in terms of strategies to win this business if you can't physically speak to people, like, you know, like years in time gone by? So yeah, a really important strategy, which, you know, we're taking advantage of at the moment, for sure.
Amazing. Good for you. Good for you. Well, I mean, fantastic results, Antonio. So hats off to you. As parting, like, words of advice to someone else in the same situation that you were in, you know, 6-9 months ago, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, highly recommend doing the course. And I think for those out there that think that they might question their ability to actually go through the course and come out the other end, having achieved what they set out to achieve, it's all achievable. All you need to do is obviously make sure that you dedicate the time and just work through, each module in your own time, and with the help and support that you get from the rest of the team. I think if I can do it, I think anyone can do it. I'm not the brightest by any means. And I had that doubt in my mind before I started the course. But you know what? I actually pleasantly surprised myself in what I was able to achieve in such a short space of time. And basically what I've achieved in the last 6 months, I haven't achieved anywhere near, going back 11 years. It's been so sort of career changing in that respect, that it's made a massive difference. And I think if you had to pick one thing that is the real sort of standout for me in terms of takeaway or positive from this whole experience, is the mindset shift. Really learning to change your mindset and saying, you can be bigger, you can be better. You just need to have a plan to execute in order to get there. Is the biggest take from it, for sure.
That's wonderful. So thanks, Antonio. Yeah, thank you so much for being on today's session. And I really hope whoever is listening to this, that you have walked away believing you can do the same. Because as Antonio says, a lot of the time it's actually about access to the information that you need to take you to the next level up. So that is the biggest thing. So I hope you've walked away with something that you can implement into your business. And of course, if you want to make these types of shifts in your business and you'd like to know more about that, then please reach out to us like Antonio did. We will jump on a call with you. We will map it out for you. Absolutely, no obligation at all, but know that we are here. That's the whole point of this community, is to be supporting you in any way, shape or form that we can. So, Antonio, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for those shares. It's been a pleasure having you here. And for those watching, I will see you again. So I hope to see you again next week. Take care. Have a great week, everyone. Antonio, thank you so much.